Hello and welcome back to Hope is Kindled, the podcast where we uncover light within even the darkest corners of human experience. Today, we journey into one of the most extraordinary memoirs of the modern age, The Diving Bell and the Butterfly by Jean-Dominique Bauby. This is not a story of conquest or war, nor of epic journeys across the seas. Instead, it is the story of one man imprisoned in his own body, able to move only his left eyelid, yet who still found a way to speak, to create, and to kindle hope through words. Bauby's memoir reminds us that the human spirit is not limited by flesh or circumstance. It is a story of suffering, yes, but also of beauty, imagination, and the refusal to let despair have the final word. Jean-Dominique Bauby was the editor-in-chief of Elle magazine, a man of culture, humor, and vitality. In 1995, at the age of 43, he suffered a massive stroke that left him with locked-in syndrome. His mind was fully intact, but his body was almost completely paralyzed. Imagine it. You can see, you can think, you can feel, but you cannot move, you cannot speak, you cannot even gesture. All you can do is blink your left eye. For many, this would be the end of life, as they knew it. For Bauby, it became the beginning of a new kind of authorship. Through painstaking effort, he dictated his entire memoir one letter at a time, by blinking when an assistant recited the alphabet. Letter by letter, word by word, blink by blink, The Diving Bell and the Butterfly was born. The title itself captures the paradox of Bauby's existence. The diving bell represents his body, heavy, immobile, sinking into silence and confinement. The butterfly represents his mind, free, delicate, alive with imagination and memory. He was trapped, yes, but within that trap, he discovered wings. This duality speaks directly to the theme of hope we return to again and again, that even in the most unthinkable suffering, there remains an interior freedom that no circumstance can fully extinguish. Bauby's memoir is filled with reflections that echo across philosophy and literature. Like Marcus Aurelius in Meditations, he reminds us that while external events are beyond our control, the inner citadel of the mind can still be free. Like Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning, he demonstrates that meaning can be forged even in the harshest conditions, that suffering, when given voice, becomes a kind of transcendence. Like Kafka in The Metamorphosis, Bauby describes the alienation of being trapped in a body no longer recognizable. But unlike Kafka's Gregor Samsa, Bauby refuses despair, he chooses beauty. One of the most remarkable aspects of The Diving Bell and the Butterfly is the way Bauby turns his limited experience into luminous prose. He recalls the taste of food he can no longer eat. He describes the faces of his children, the texture of dreams, the imagination of flight. He travels by memory and fantasy, proving that freedom is not always physical, it is often imaginative. He writes,
I can imagine anything, anyone, anywhere. To escape my diving bell, all I need is the wings of my mind.
What could be more hopeful than that? This memoir stands in dialogue with so many of the works we've covered. Like Night by Elie Wiesel, it is a testimony of suffering that insists on dignity. Like Papillon, it is a story of confinement and the refusal to surrender. Like the Odyssey, it is a journey, but not across seas. Instead, it is a journey through memory, imagination, and love, always seeking home. Like the Brothers Karamazov, it confronts suffering head-on, but insists that life is still meaningful, even sacred. And even like the Count of Monte Cristo, it reminds us that hope is the ultimate act of rebellion. Why young readers should encounter this work for young readers, The Diving Bell and the Butterfly is vital, not because it is easy, but because it is honest. It teaches that life is fragile, that everything can change in an instant. But it also teaches that meaning, beauty, and hope are always within reach. Bauby proves that even when our world collapses, we can choose how to respond. We can choose bitterness, or we can choose to turn suffering into song. This is a book written from a place where almost everything has been taken away. Movement, speech, independence, privacy, even time as we usually understand it. And yet, what remains is meaning. That compression of life, of language, of possibility is exactly why it belongs so powerfully in Hope is Kindled. Why this episode matters, you ask? Most of the works we cover deal with enormous systems, wars, empires, ideologies, civilizations collapsing or resisting. The Diving Bell and the Butterfly turns the lens inward until there is almost nothing left to see but consciousness itself. And then it asks the most difficult question of all. If this is all that remains, attention, memory, imagination, can hope still exist? Jean-Dominique Bauby's answer is yes. Not loudly, not heroically, but unmistakably. Where the hope lives, Bauby, the editor of Elle, is trapped in his body after a massive stroke, suffering from locked-in syndrome. He can communicate only by blinking one eye. His memoir is dictated letter by letter, blink by blink. That fact alone reframes what expression means. The hope in this work is not recovery. It is not cure. It is not transcendence. It is agency. Bauby refuses to let his inner life be erased simply because his outer one has collapsed. The diving bell is the crushing weight of his body. The butterfly is his imagination, still mobile, still playful, still free. He travels through memory, humor, regret, tenderness, and irony with astonishing grace. Hope here is not optimism. It is presence. What we really learn for the purposes of hope is Kindled. This episode teaches us something essential. That dignity is not dependent on productivity, that voice is not limited to volume, that meaning can survive radical constraint. Bauby shows us that a human being is not reducible to function. When everything external is stripped away, what remains is the capacity to notice, to remember, to care, to create. That is hope in its most distilled form. Psychologically, this is a masterclass in resilience without denial. Bauby does not pretend his condition is anything but devastating. He mourns what he has lost. He allows grief. And yet, he still chooses engagement over withdrawal. That choice, again and again, is where hope takes root. Why it belongs in this series. This episode reminds us that hope is not scale-dependent. It does not require epic struggle or sweeping change. Sometimes it exists in the space between blinks, in a sentence wrestled into being one letter at a time. In a world obsessed with speed, visibility, and noise, the diving bell and the butterfly insists on something quieter and more radical. That a single conscious mind, fully alive to its own experience, still matters. And that, in the end, may be one of the most important lessons we can offer our listeners. Because if hope can survive there, then it can survive anywhere. Bauby died only days after the publication of his memoir. But what he left behind is not just a book, it is a beacon. It is proof that words, hope, and imagination outlast even the frailest body. When I think of the diving bell and the butterfly, I think of the truth we return to in every episode. Hope is not about avoiding suffering. It is about enduring it with courage, transforming it into something beautiful, and reminding ourselves that the butterfly always waits inside the bell. So tonight, remember Bauby. Remember the blink that became a book, the silence that became a voice. Remember that even when life seems impossibly heavy, the human spirit can still take flight. Good journey.